Well, I am not the biggest fan of these Camaro seats. These are stock cloth seats, and I think they're the most uncomfortable seats GM has ever made. So let's replace them. Now, I am going to go with, I picked up a set of these C4 Corvette cloth seats. Now, for C4s, cloth seats are pretty rare. It's not a good thing. Most people just want a leather, so they paid more for leather, but here they are, cloth seats. They're going to be comfortable, and they provide a much better bucket than the horrible Camaro seats. So another seat option would have been like the Trans Am ones, whether cloth or the leather ones. Now the leather Camaro seats are pretty good. The cloth ones, no. But the Trans Am seats were much, much better. However, they don't really look like they fit in. It's pretty obvious that they are Trans Am or Firebird seats. So if you're up for that, all good. Now, we could also go with an aftermarket seat. But with aftermarket seats, you need aftermarket seat brackets. This is where the C4 seats come in. I think I can make one of the seat brackets that I have work. Let's see how that goes. Starting with the passenger side here, that way if I need to drive the car, I have a driver's seat. But all it is a 13mm. Roll the seat all the way back. And take off the front bolts. Now with the seat forward, a shallow 13 fits in, and we can take these off. And final step, this seatbelt holder thing. Just Phillips heads, these come right out. Now here we have a side-by-side passenger seats. So the Corvette ones with the Corvette brackets sit a little taller. But I'll show you, the brackets are actually different, and that's probably why. Now the Camaro seats are taller lengthwise, but obviously the Corvette seats has more of a bucket, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Another important thing why I went with these is Camaro seats have this tab on the bottom that you press, the seat folds forward so you can get to the back seats. Corvette seats have a tab here on the back of the headrest. And same thing, fold forward, you have access to the back. Now let's take a look at the brackets here. So on the Camaro, the bracket kind of extends out in the back. On the Corvette ones, they extend in the front. So the shape of the bottom of the floor pans between the Camaro and the Corvette are different, almost the reverse. These Corvette brackets happen to be manual. The driver's side is electric. We'll worry about that if we have to. But with this being manual, nothing fancy's going on. Let's take off the seat brackets. Let's compare them a little more closely. Camaro seat brackets all the way back, taking the same 13. And we have easy access here and right there. It's a little tricky to move both brackets when it's not mounted, but it's doable. Just do one at a time. This is the spring-loaded one, as you can see. So we moved it forward. Now we have access to the back 13s, and this track comes off nice and easy. For the Corvette seats, to remove the tracks, we need to take out the cushion. So if you've seen my C3 videos, they just attach and clip in. So same thing on the C4. We just got to find the right spot, get in there, and lift it right on out. So there's the back, and the front should be ready to come right on out. There's some clip or something right here in this area that's just giving me some difficulty. Rather than waste time messing with it, since I have access here, we can take this off and I can get my impact in there and just zip off these bolts. So here are the Corvette tracks on the right and Camaro on the left. So just comparing real quick, we can see our bolt holes are not the same length. Let's compare passenger to passenger. Our bolt holes here are not the same length. Let's get a measurement on them real quick. That means they're not going to be a direct bolt in. With the tape measure out, it looks like the Camaro one is 14 inches apart, while the Corvette one is 13. So it's an inch difference. So there's another issue with the seats. Not only are the bolts from top to bottom of the seat tracks not the same, an inch off, side to side they're not the same either. Oop, I got them upside down. So there's another problem with the seat tracks. So not only from top to bottom are they not the same length, they're an inch off, side to side they are not the same. Now it's close, but they're not the same. Now another thing to note is the Corvette seat tracks, I have it right here, they're not attached, not like these Camaro ones are. These Camaro ones have this little spring wire thing holding them, and I don't see the point. I don't think they actually do anything, and I think we're going to have no issues if we just disconnect it, so we don't have to worry about how far apart they are in the x-axis. And looks like one more issue, the height of the seat tracks itself. Now the Camaro seat tracks bolted flat to the Camaro seat. The Corvette seat tracks have this little lip here, and it extends. It looks like, yeah, the lip is not the same on both sides, and that is because the Corvette seat is not flat, whereas the Camaro seat has the extension here to make the seat track bolt flat to it. So we're gonna have to put some sort of extension in here. Alright, so I have made some progress and I think I have a game plan. So on the Corvette seat tracks, they have this bracket here on both sides. Now it isn't even, one's a little higher than the other, but it's a bracket nonetheless, and it seems to be the right height these tracks needed. So if I cut the brackets off, place them onto the seat by bolting them in, now these holes here on the left and on the right perfectly line up with this hole here, this hole here. Flip it over, put a bolt in, bam, they hold together. Now this edge here that I grinded off, it's not, you know, I don't have anything attached to it. We could put another bolt maybe. I'm thinking if we get that far, just throw a tack weld on. That should be plenty good. It will have 2 points of contact. Now for the rivets here that you see holding this bracket in, we're just going to drill off. We just got to drill the head out. As you see, I already got started on this one. And then we'll worry about the back side, which is spot welded in. Alright, got this removed. I ended up using my angle grinder to just kind of help cut off the top head of it. Damaged this bracket a little bit, but it's okay. Now this back one is spot welded in. The weld is actually like right here in the middle where you can't see. So we're going to take the angle grinder and just kind of sneak it in there and cut free as much of the weld as we can, and we're going to go back and forth with some chiseling. So what we're doing here is a little bit of back and forth. So I'm grinding off as much as I can get to, and then I'll come in with my chisel and my hammer and maybe a pry bar, hit it in there, break that weld even more, bend it up, expose more, and then we can get to more of the spot weld that is inside of here. And after lots and lots of chiseling, we got it off. So it was like this. Now it's off. You can see it was only spot welded in in the middle towards the back. So once we broke that off, now we're good. This is pretty messed up, but I think we'll be fine. We'll bolt it tight to the new seat track and then get a tack weld on each side, and that's not going anywhere. Alright, got the last one off, and this one came off in just a couple chisel hits. It was so easy, in fact, that I ended up hitting my thumb. But as you can see, just 2 little spot welds, so this one did not have very good penetration at all. But it lifted off very easily. Alright, let's start assembling. Alright, we have the brackets all in. Even hooked up the wire so that way the slider works, because on the Camaro tracks, when you pull the slider handle, this wire pulls this, so they work together. You can't disconnect that. Now, I got the brackets that I cut off from the Corvette tracks, put them onto here. They're on. They're not all perfectly even and flat with the seat track. Like this one down here is definitely a little off. And I've been test fitting it as I go to make sure everything's lined up, and the best I got is right here with this one off crooked a little bit. Now the two front ones, I ended up drilling new holes into the seat here. Now this seat is like a composite material, so you gotta be careful where you drill. You can't just drill anywhere. So this kind of gray powdery area is metal reinforced, and it's the only metal reinforced part in this area. So where you see the bolt, I drilled the hole. There was originally that hole in the bottom. It wasn't being used for anything, and the hole on the right was where the bolt used to be. Now I had to move it to the left since the tracks are a little narrower on the Camaro rather than the Corvette. Now same thing over on this side. I had to drill the hole where you see the bolt. The hole existed on the left, wasn't used for anything, but the hole on the bottom was where it used to be. So I just moved it back, and that gave me the correct spacing, the 13 inches from one side to the other. There we have it, it's fully bolted in. And now scooted back. That's as far back as it goes. I mean, if it's that far back, you're really not going to fit a passenger, not comfortably at least. But hey, it's in, and it seems to fit just fine. All these scratches were already here. The seatbelt buckle works. It's in a good spot. It's not getting caught or anything. And it seems to be mostly level or even. If anything, it's kind of pointed a little in towards the transmission tunnel, just a tiny bit. But I think it looks good. It definitely feels like you're sitting a lot higher than before though. At least like an inch, inch and a half. So if you're really tall, this probably is not going to work. But if you're that tall, you probably barely fit in this car to begin with. Well, we are making progress on the driver's side. And the driver's side is in fact different, so we are going to have to come up with a different plan. And I think I have the plan now, so showing you what's going on. So the Camaro seat, driver's side, looks exactly the same as the passenger side, where it extends where it bolts to the seat. No problem. The Corvette seat track is power seat on the driver's side. And because it's power, they raised the bolts from the seat track to the seat, and it's flat. So there's no brackets for me to use. And they put all the power stuff underneath it. So since we're not using the power seat bracket from the Corvette, we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to leave it be and not modify it. Now here is the Camaro manual seat track. And this one we're going to be able to work with. So as you can see, I got one bolt in down here. I put two washers back there just to space it out and give it the correct amount of spacing so it doesn't hit anything. And that is in a factory hole. You see, same thing where it has one hole that wasn't used, one hole that was. So I just put in the one that wasn't used. Didn't have to drill anything down there. Now we're going to extend this one up, and it does not line up with this hole here. So we're going to have to drill a hole, put a washer on there to reinforce it. And in the back, we don't line up either. It is very close to this one, so we might be able to waller this one out and get it in. But the back one down here, it's going to need a hole drilled. So that's the plan I'm going to go with. And to reinforce it, since this is composite and the metal section is very thin, let's just put a thick, big washer in there. And that should cover the metal reinforced part, and that should be good enough to give it that strength. Now, I unbolted the power motor that was left in here because the bolts were interfering, with our seat bracket down here. Unbolted it, probably just going to remove it since we're not going to have power seats at all. And now, the other thing we want to do is, this bottom side is very flush, like it fits perfect there. Now I need to figure out where I want to line it up, but if you see there's like a this is metal nub here hitting this indent on the composite seat. I'm gonna sand this down, try to get that nub to sit more smoothly in there. Alright, so for the seat, you see I trimmed out this spot down here too. That way the metal hump here can fit in there better. I trimmed both of these corners so they are able to fit the hump here. And now we just have to play around with some spacing between the bolt hole here and then where we're actually putting it in. So we're going to put some washers there to space it out. And let's see how it goes. It's been a few days, but we're back here working on finalizing the C4 seats in the Camaro. So just take a look at how sturdy this is. Like, it is mounted solid. Driver's seat, good to go. I need to tighten up the passenger side, that's it. And let's give these a nice clean. They are still filthy. And there we have it. Everything finalized. Seats are cleaned, carpet cleaned a little bit. And then I mounted these in, so I just screw them in. They're basically self-tappers now. And they seem to be in a good position. I didn't want it too high because then it'd be not doing its job. And I didn't want it too low, and I really can't go any lower than that. But that seems to be the perfect position for me. The seat fits good in here, and it looks good too. Seat definitely looks dirty. It's not though. It must just be worn. So maybe it could use like a dye, but it wouldn't be worth it. We're just gonna keep it as is and just enjoy it. And now we got a nice, better fitting seat for me. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.